Welcome to Hair Restoration with Dr. Daniel Danyo from North Atlanta Hair Restoration. And we have special guests today. We are going to be talking with Doug in Louisville, Kentucky. He's got an interesting history, and we worked on him about 6 months ago. Hey, Doug.
Hello.
How are
Hey,
you?
Dr. Daniel. Great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on board. All of these interviews really help patients out through this journey, and you've got quite a journey, and I'm just going to leave it up to you to tell everybody what you've been through and how you chose us on your
Well,
path.
I'll say, Dr. Daniel, that reading other people's experiences and seeing videos about them were extremely helpful. Back when I did this, they didn't have as much of that going on. But since then and other decisions I've made, it certainly helped to me choosing you, which I'm immensely grateful to all the research I did that said you were the guy.
I appreciate that. You've been through a lot. You've met with a lot of doctors and had some procedures done, and some good, some bad, and
Yeah.
you've got some great insight.
So my experience, I'm 66, a couple of months now, and I was in France in 1983, and I noticed seemed to be a lot of hair coming out in my showers, and I always thought I'd be immune to hair loss because my father had a full head of hair, and my mother and her mother's dad and her grandfather had hair, so I became extremely anxious to see what I was losing, being a young single male. I started doing research on stopping hair loss and all the things you could do back then, all the vitamins and all the oils you could put on, anything and everything. And of course, the only thing that I experienced was a loss of money.
Yeah.
So one day in the early or late 90s, maybe around 97, I was reading Men's Health magazine, and I'd seen this guy in there before, and it was a picture of a man, and his hair looked great, and he'd had it done at a place where they did flap procedures. And I thought, wow, this looks great. I was very impressed with it, and I booked my surgery. This was 97. Now I got out there, and it turns out my scalp is extremely tight.
Yeah.
So they couldn't do it. They had to
Wow.
put in an expander on this side.
Oh, gosh. How long did you have the expander?
3 months.
Oh,
I'd have my wife inject into this port they had somewhere in my head over here, and it would fill up with saline. And I'd have to do that, I don't know, a couple of times a week maybe. And it would get extremely tight. It was painful.
that's commitment right there.
Yeah.
And you were in.
But at some point, I felt like I looked like the Elephant Man. And so I went through all that, and then I flew back out. And then they actually remove the flap and do the rotation. They take it literally from the side of your head, and they twist it and put it around the front of your head.
Yeah.
There were some styling problems with it. But then I was so happy with the results. People told me, wow, you look 10 years younger. I told them, here's what I did.
How much hair loss did you have?
By that time, a lot of the frontal was thin. It wasn't like skin bald,
Yeah.
but a lot of thinning throughout. And then the temples were receding. And it was
Okay.
definitely not going to get anywhere better.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a comb over, but it was just thin all on top. And this was like getting 10,000 grafts in one setting with no shedding. The day of the surgery, I had a full head of hair in the front.
Yeah.
But I was so impressed that I immediately booked a second one because I was thin in the back too.
Yep.
And normally what they would do is they'd put them about 1.5 inches apart,
Yep.
and then you do a scalp reduction in the middle, and then you had a bunch of hair. But my scalp, like I said, was tight. They had to abut them one to the other.
Wow.
So then that was great for a while. Full head of hair, but genetics and time were not my friend.
Yeah.
I guess I was headed towards that horseshoe ring I would have had. There's no way in hell I would have had it done now with the state of the art.
Yeah, they're really not doing that anymore.
So when I started wanting to do something about this crown, I Googled a bunch of people, and I actually flew up to New York and I think New Jersey, saw a couple of people. In Minneapolis, I went and flew out and saw Dr. Ron Shapiro.
He's a great human and a great doctor and really a great mentor for me. So
He is, and he is. You are, to me, you and he are just alike. There's no God complex like some I've met with. And you do great work. You did better than what God left me with here in the last few years.
great.
I liked him. So he did FUTs. He did couple of strips. One, I went back to another,
Yep.
and trying to fill in that crown. But I had such a large crown area. He did what he could, and I
Yep.
still progressed, and I was still unhappy with it. I started doing some online research. Your name came up.
Yep.
And so, of course, I started doing the Google reviews, and you had a lot of great reviews for all the obvious reasons. Your skill, your work, your team, your practice, your personality has a lot to do with it.
I appreciate it.
Oh, no, you're welcome. And you were very open about your own experience. So I think I had a FaceTime interview with you. I liked also the fact that I'd read you, and I think I talked to you, did DHI. And
Yeah.
from what my research said, that was the grafts were more likely to survive because they spend less time outside the body.
Yeah. You know, the amazing thing is you think of everything your donor site has been through with the flaps and the rotations. And then you came to us, we had planned on doing what, like 1,750. We actually ended up getting 2,500 grafts. And we were able to refine your hairline a little bit more. We really packed in that crown. Why don't you describe your time with us? We work hard to have a kind of a different experience for folks. There's a lot of mental anguish coming into it. A lot of people are really stressed out when they first come. Doing the, especially a Shaveless FUE, and you came back the next day, I think, for a wash, and you look great. You almost had to look to see whether you had hair transplant or not. So why don't you describe that story?
And you brought up a very important point. That was how you were recommended originally because I wanted shaveless. So I was nervous because you're going through a procedure, there's a surgery, but the time went by very quickly. And I would say this about you, Dr. Danyo, your all's team was like a precision Swiss watch.
I appreciate that.
It was. You all worked, there's at least 4 at one time working all around me.
Yeah.
You and everybody else were talking to me the whole time. I'm getting ready to do this. You may feel a little bit and so I wasn't out of the loop about what are y'all doing up there? You were very open and conversant about it. So that put me at ease.
Most of our procedures, I would say more than 99% of our procedures, we do not use sedation. Now, a lot of places really knock people out. I think it adds like another layer of complexity. And one of the problems that I've experienced with patients that have had prior hair transplant at other places, and you ask, how many grafts did you get? And they say, I don't even know. I don't even remember the day. And the numbing is not bad, so there's no reason to sedate. And I love to hear that you found comfort in the fact that you could hear what we were saying and you remember a great day.
And I knew what you were doing, and if I had a question, you answered it. And there were maybe one time where the Nova lidocaine or whatever is wore off a little bit. I say, you just got a shot up, filled it back up, and that was it. But I just was enjoying the day. And
with the crown and sometimes with the frontal hairline, we have the opportunity to actually extract and place at the same time. And that's what you're talking about. It's a very choreographed type issue. A lot of times we're playing kind of musical chairs. I'm switching to the left and to the right and vice versa. And the key is to keep things going.
You gave me a great lunch too. So
yeah. We always have a good lunch. Yeah. So let's talk about you're 6 months out from the procedure. I looked at pictures that you sent in about a week ago, and I'm really happy kind of with the growth right now. Obviously, you're not at maximal growth, but why don't you describe how you feel about the growth and where you are right now?
I was a little nervous at first because I'd go on these sites and say crown's regrowth can be a little slower than the rest of the head. I guess because of the scalp, nature of the blood flow in the area, right about 5.5 months. And everybody says you need to wait at least 6 to 8 months and really up to a year or longer for full thick density. If it looks like it does now, I may have had my last procedure.
Yeah. But you're happy right now where it is.
Yeah. Honestly, the way it looks like it's coming in, I don't know that I'll need anything else.
Yeah.
I feel really good about it. And I would say to anybody, if you want a skilled, well-trained, experienced, affable, and a personal doctor, you guys were very solicitous of me and my needs and how I was feeling. It made me feel almost like a member of the family when I was there.
I appreciate that. My last question for you is one of the biggest questions I get patient-wise is, what does the recovery look like? And they are very concerned. There's so much stuff online of people having massive swelling, pain, bandages. And from my standpoint, that's just not acceptable. And so I've worked hard with the team to produce a operative and then post-operative experience that honors the patient and empowers them to get back to work and social activities pretty quick. Did we fulfill that mission?
Yeah, there's a little pain, but like I said, nothing uncomfortable. Tylenol took care of it.
But you were out and about pretty quick.
Yeah, almost immediately. I didn't go to the gym and do a lot of heavy lifting and all that stuff. And I know it said to wait like 10 or 11 days before you really shampooed it normally. You just pat it with a little baby shampoo. I was fanatical about making sure I didn't do anything that would disrupt the grafts.
Yeah.
I'd take water and pour them over my head when I was shampooing. And I think I actually went 3 weeks before I did any normal shampooing.
Were you like wearing a hat or feeling sheltered where you didn't want to go out into public,
No,
or it was
no.
felt pretty natural?
Yeah, I may have worn a hat for a couple of days. I wasn't going to go to work wearing a hat.
Yeah.
And it allowed some of the redness in the front of the hair where you added some grafts to go
Yep.
away.
Yep.
But nothing more than that. Wasn't uncomfortable. The only thing about the recovery process, of course, I wanted to make sure I slept with my head up. If you're afraid you're going to grab your head with your hands while you're asleep. I didn't have any of that. I did have maybe a little bit of spotting on the pillowcase.
That's normal. Yeah.
It's normal. I didn't worry about that. It was a great experience. I was trying to do everything I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I had been taking finasteride, but you got me on the oral oxidil, which I hear great things about. It's supposed to help the regrowth.
What is your final statement for people that are maybe listening to this and on the fence, figuring out what they want to do?
Here's what I would say, Dr. Danyo, because I have been on that fence. My journey started in the late 90s, and I have zero regrets of my experience with either you or Dr. Shapiro. And I know how nerve-wracking it can be, how fearful people can be. Are they going to botch me? Are they going to take too much or too little? And you all were, in both cases, were perfect in every sense as far as I'm concerned. And I have and did through my Google reviews say, this is the guy you need to go to, Dr. Danyo in Georgia. Dr. Danyo is going to put you at ease. I felt at ease from the first time I talked to you on the phone, and that's kind of what sold me. The shaveless technique that you use, which I think is different than some other doctors, my main overriding reason for going to you is because of the shaveless, and it was impeccable. So anybody listening to this, you want a quick recovery, you don't want to walk around with a shaved head, and you want great results, then Dr. Danyo is your guy. And I wouldn't have any problem telling anybody that at any time. There was nothing negative about my experience with you. The results are great.
Look, Doug, I really appreciate you coming on board and giving your history. I think it's inspiring. You've been through the whole spectrum from the flaps to the strips to FUE. And I think getting a shaveless FUE with DHI is really at the really far newest end of the spectrum. And it's something that we really have perfected, we're passionate about. So if you like this show and you want to see more, check us out online. It's Hair Restoration with Dr. Danyo, and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Danyo.